right.
This is so cozy. I can't even lie.
Yeah, you know,
Honestly.
Huh?
That's the goal. 'Cause
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I love this. The lighting is
a
awesome.
white
Yeah.
room with 2 chairs.
No. I loved it. I love the
Vix, do me a
decor.
favor. Could you just like turn that slightly?
Yeah, and even though it's like a studio, it still feels like homey, like, you know.
Yeah, and that was the goal because it was just like, let me make this. We kind of wanted to feel nice. It's all
Right,
about the
feels,
vibe.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels
You
good.
know,
It feels awesome.
like.
It's not overdone. It's not under. It's just
No,
perfect. Yeah.
thanks so much, man. That
Yeah.
means a lot coming from a fellow productionist.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. I love
Um,
it. It's awesome.
Oh, sorry. I'm just gonna.
No problem.
All right. Guys, thanks for coming back. Don't forget to subscribe and click that bell so you can get all the notifications for our upcoming Gyaffs. We have a lot of stuff to share, so let's do it. Thank you for your support. Welcome to the Gyaff,
Right, thank you for having me.
Joel Browne, aka Mr. Joey2Kool.
Thank you.
Man, this is such a privilege.
No, it's
And
a privilege for you guys to have me.
Yeah, excuse my cheesy info. I'm really trying to up
No,
my
it's all good.
subscribers, and apparently that's what you have to do.
You gotta plug yourself.
Yeah, you gotta
must.
keep plugging.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of entertainment, right? Like,
Definitely.
it's all self promotion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so much to talk about. You're a music producer,
Right.
and I just kind of wonder, how do you even get into something like that in Guyana? Because and maybe likewise somebody could ask me the same thing about video
Right.
production.
Right.
I think I kind of just stumbled into it, but you know, music is just like something we are listening to day in, day out.
Right.
So how do you even like come across this space? Or
It's very simple for me. So I actually grew up in church, my dad being a pastor.
Okay.
As a child, you know, in church, sometimes it could be boring as a kid. So I had to find something to keep my attention. I mean,
Yeah.
for those who might feel offended, I'm sorry. That's just true.
no, not at all.
And oddly enough, there's instruments. So I ended up, you know, fiddling with the equipment and fiddling with the sound, and ended up loving the keyboard. Everybody else wanted to do drums, but I just loved the keyboards. So I ended up falling in love with that. And when I was like 9 or 10, my dad bought me a keyboard. I remember he went to California and he brought back a keyboard. And that was the start for me in terms of my journey. So my musical background started in church, like playing, you know, for people and playing hymns and playing gospel songs. So I actually had like an ear that was developed over time from church. So now my production is more so like based on like me being able to reproduce what my artists hear. So like in some of my productions, like they'll sing and say, "Can you play this?" And I'll play what they hear, because I grew up doing that in church. Because in church you can have random people just come up there and say, "Pastor, I got a song," and they can just sing any random old hymn, and you got to figure out what it is. So my ear song was developed from that. So that's where it started from. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I actually, well, it's just, a lot of artists do come from a church choir
Yes,
background,
I
right?
promise
That is
you
the
some
thing.
of the best. Yeah, like CeCe Winans, you know, like what's her name again? Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
A lot of the greats come from a church background, because that's where like you hear some of the best vocals and music. Period. Honestly.
So you grew up always knowing that you were going to do this?
No, oddly enough, I wanted to be a doctor when I was younger.
Okay.
Because I love sciences, but music was kind of like, from everybody else, it was like a hobby. I was like, you can't do music as a job. My journey is very weird. You'll hear more about it as we talk. But yeah, I was like, I'll be a doctor. I'll go to college and be a doctor. And I got lost along the way, and music kind of was the calling. But I had some other steps before I even went back to music.
So when did you decide that I'm going all in on the music?
All right, so let me give you a little backstory. So I after I finished high school, I was a teacher for like 2 or 3 years.
Music teacher?
No, oddly enough, science, because
Right.
yeah, anybody hiring any music teachers right like that.
Yeah.
And then I migrated overseas to the U.S. and I went to a school called AIU for media production. They offered like a media production course, and I did that. And when I finished, I kind of interned a little bit at some studios and stuff, but music wasn't taking off like that, because you're from South America. Nobody knows you, you know, nobody giving you a chance. So I came back to Guyana, and I was with my dad, you know, kind of working with him part-time. And I remember going to Mabarumo. I loved aviation, by the way, when I was younger, but it seemed unattainable. He's like, "You don't like aviation still?" I was like, "Yeah, I do, but you know, it's expensive." He's like, "Go find out how much it costs to do a pilot license." So I ended up doing the whole thing, and I actually started in Guyana, went back to the States, and I got my commercial multi-engine pilot license. So yes.
Can I tell you something quickly?
Sure.
So I walked in today and I was talking to my mom. I was like, she's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I got a podcast just now. I'm about to shoot." And she's like, "Who?" And I'm like, you know, some guy named Joel Browne. You probably won't know him. He's a music producer. 'Cause she don't know music
Yeah.
producer. Like, oh, Joel Browne, the pilot? I'm like, what? The pilot? No, definitely not. She's like, no. I think I know who you're talking about. He's a pilot.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And that it just like blew my mind.
Yeah,
you know?
so I actually went to like air services flight school. I started there, and then I went back to the States because I was I was living there for a while, and I finished up my commercial training and so on, and then I came back, and I actually because I got married during that space of time, and my wife she's a doctor, so we both wanted to be doctors when we were young.
Okay.
But she followed the journey, and I kind of went all over the place.
Yeah.
So anyway, when we got married, she couldn't travel with me because she had a contract. She had gotten a scholarship through the government, so she had to serve like 5 years. So I moved back to Guyana, and the military was hiring pilots, but you had to do like the cadet course and stuff. So I actually was in the military also as an officer for like 6 years, flying the Skyvan and stuff. So my journey was like all over the place, bro. But yeah, so I did that, and then I was still doing music part time, like here and there, dabbling in music and
So
production.
what kind, like you would just make?
I would make beats. I would just make beats and post them on YouTube, talk to people, and I was honored to be able to work with some local talent like Kwesi is, and like your Jomos, Adrian Dutchins, and so on. During that space of time, and then even while I was working, and flying, I started posting beats, and I had the idea of tagging famous people that I think that would sound good on a track. And I tagged a bunch of people. Of course, many never, responded. But I tagged a very big artist one time. We'll probably get to that later. But they responded, and it kind of took me to like a whole different level of production. But I was still doing production for like people overseas, but not very famous, just really good people who were really talented, of course. But music is very weird. Like you can be really talented, but sometimes it just needs a little bit of luck.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, even as a producer, and as artist. So that's kind of like how I ended up, this direction. You're looking like, what?
Yeah. No. I mean, across most media platforms. I mean, I'm looking at it like that because I'm fascinated and like I relate. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Not really with me per se, but just like the industry. Because really understanding these things allows people in the industry to know, like, it sets the bar for where they have to go. You know?
Definitely.
Because I think a lot of people, especially artists, have this idea that you just show up and make a song and you've arrived.
No,
No offense to anybody.
No,
but
that's fine. I
think that is
and if they're offended, then you're probably speaking to them because that is not how it should be. And if you're offended, then that means you haven't even delved fully into what it actually is about.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, for example, I worked on an album recently, and sometimes you only hear one song is 3 minutes, but that might be 5, 6, 8 days, a month of work getting that 3 minutes done.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of work that goes behind the scenes, and people sometimes are not necessarily prepared for the sacrifice that is involved in it. And then some people have not so lofty goals. Like some people just want to be famous. They just want to be popular. They just want to be that guy in their neighborhood. So there's nothing wrong with that. But for those who have lofty goals and big dreams, for us, we take it more serious. And I know you do your research and everything as well.
Yeah, I look at it as like it's like a school of knowledge. Like life is a school of knowledge. It's just like how much can I just extract from every single experience?
Definitely.
You know what I mean? It's like you're always learning and
definitely.
And even in like even for this, I mean, like I'm like, and one thing I felt is that it's really made me think extra about how my interactions with people as well.
Definitely.
Because I do want that to carry over. I don't want to be here preaching one thing and then
you don't follow.
And I will make mistakes, by the way. We all make mistakes.
We do.
But it's just, that constant development.
And I totally agree with you in that because even for me, after I had finished my flight training, I developed a little ego, I would say, because I was like the first in my family. And I just felt proud of myself to the point where, you kind of just got a little chip on your shoulder, But what happened was when I joined the military to serve, I was able to rub shoulders with people from all walks of life. And it kind of humbled me to the fact that I was actually able to achieve certain things because I had support that many others didn't have. And that gave me like a new perspective on life. So even my approach now is a lot more shrouded in like humility and stuff because, sometimes you are afforded opportunities that others don't, and you can't look down on anybody. So that helped me to even want to work harder, what I'm saying? Like to be able to achieve. Because, sometimes, we can be in a little bubble by ourselves in our little family space and, we don't know what's going on outside of us. And we kind of, look down or what should I say, for lack of a better word, ignore others,
Especially if we come from a privileged
Yes,
background.
and for me, it was kind of semi-privileged, so
Yeah.
I had a little, skewed view of the world. So, those 5 or 6 years were like the best experiences I've had in terms of learning how to work with people. Because
If you don't mind me asking, what was a humbling experience?
So when I joined the military, I was already a commercial pilot, right? And like when you were training as a cadet, like you had people in charge of you who would drill you ridiculously, tell you all kinds of crazy stuff, or they would basically break you down to nothing. And in my mind, I was like, you can't talk to me. You don't know who I am. Like, you know what I could do. So like, that was like a humbling one because all of my squaddies were like doctors and lawyers and all kinds of crazy, qualifications. And we were all like basically like humbled. I remember the first day we got there, I had a squaddie. She's a doctor. I won't call names, but she's like, where's the water? Where do we drink water at? And I was like, okay, we'll find water for you. And they sent us running for like almost like 20 minutes. And when we came back, everybody was at the pipe, the standpipe in the yard, just like, so there was like, like you came from where's our bottled water to just drinking from a pipe,
Yeah.
So like that was very humbling. And then we were able to work with like soldiers who were like not necessarily officers, but like NCOs who were equally qualified in terms of their experience. And we had to respect them, not because, we were probably more qualified in the public system, but they were very knowledgeable in military life and living. So it taught me to respect others, whether they're as qualified as we are or not, and that was a big lesson for me.
Yeah, there's a really strong hierarchical structure there.
Yeah, definitely. So even after we would have became officers, some of the people that were drilling us would salute to us now because they trained us to become officers, which were like you have your NCOs, which are non-commissioned officers, then you have your commissioned officers. So when we finished the cadet course, we became officers.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And it was kind of go ahead, sorry.
No.
And it was kind of weird having people that would treat you like trash. It's
Yeah.
like, sir, good afternoon, sir, and salute. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but the military life, that was something I definitely learned a lot from. That helped me to be humble and hardworking.
Sorry, going back to your story though. So you're in the military, you're making beats part-time, you're posting stuff on
and I'm
YouTube.
flying like sometimes 6 hours a day.
Yeah, you're flying. So you probably do your work at night?
At night, yeah.
Because creatives, nighttime is the best
Bro,
time.
like night is like I feel like I come alive at night. I don't. It's hard to explain. Like I feel like the stillness. Oh yes,
It's quiet.
The stillness of the night is kind of like where most of my inspiration comes. I can't explain. I don't know.
No,
and you probably feel the
It's
same. As
true.
well. Yeah,
it's
it's
true.
so
You
weird.
just get in the zone.
Yeah, like if you guys told me we recording this at like 12 o'clock in the morning, I'd be like, cool.
yeah. Well, sorry,
you know,
I should have known.
that would have been cool. That'd be perfect, So it kind of, I just feel like a lot of creativity happens then. Everything is quiet. You get a chance to kind of think and process everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're there, and then what was the switch of like, okay, look, like I just think I can go after this full time and the reason I'm asking that is because I mean even up to now, and please if you disagree with me, let me know. But
Sure.
there's essentially no industry, relatively.
Yeah.
Like it's let me take that back. It's an industry you have to craft and build along the way and
Right.
build upon. That's
Right.
really up to you because there isn't much structure.
right.
And with regards to creativity, there's a lot of lack of enforcement, for people to
Infrastructure
just,
stuff. Yeah.
exactly. The
Yeah.
infrastructure.
Like, and I agree. Like there's, so our arts, I should say, just arts in general, is it like an infantile stage, like like we're now trying to figure stuff out. So what you find is like there's no structure to like always support. What I must say though is I've seen as recent as maybe 3 weeks ago where Ministry of Culture had and this would have been perfect if you knew about this.
The grants?
They had not even the grants alone, but they had a workshop where they had mixed engineers and audio engineers from overseas come and talk about sound.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, I didn't see you there, but they had like some workshops like that with sound and mixing and mastering projects and stuff. So things like that were, been needed forever. When you look at other countries like Jamaica's and Barbados, they have like industry standard studios already. We really don't have any industry standard studio just yet. We might have some that are almost there, but in terms of like having like console boards that some of them cost like $60,000-$70,000 US, and those are like in the mid to higher end, and it's even more expensive than that. We've not been, immersed in that type of culture, whereas your Jamaica had, recordings being done years upon years or years ago. So just from the creative standpoint, we've always been kind of behind. What I think kind of helps to close the gap now is that everything is kind of in the box. We refer to in the box as like everything's digital.
Yeah.
So you can do a whole project on your laptop, which is the box. So that helps us to not necessarily be behind in quality, but in terms of like royalties and publishing and things like that, we kind of still feeling away in that space, So yeah.
So, sorry. So then, why'd you make the jump then?
So I figured out like even if you don't have like a copyright situation in your own country, like if you publish your music like using like a PRO, you can still get royalties off of your music. And also for me, I was fortunate enough to have I should say some other financial streams of income that allowed me to be able to be more I guess more immersed in my music to allow me to have better results in terms of financially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but one of the things that actually happened was, while I was in the military, my dad got ill, and he runs some businesses. So, I figured, you know what, I should probably make sure he's okay and his interests are taken care of, which of course affords me some finances, and I was able to now focus on the music now and not have to worry about going to work at a 9 to 5 or like being called upon, in the military to call you anytime. So that allowed me to be able to delve more into the music and actually see more success because I was spending more time in music. And I ended up even doing projects for like Ministry of Culture. I would do a lot of national songs and I would do a lot of production on that level, also working with like Calvin Burnett and the Quincy Aces and so on and managing them. So, that's another stream of income. When you manage an artist, you're responsible for their, their production and so on. And then when they get paid, you get paid as well.
Yeah.
So I was able to like enter a space of production that some very few people know about,
Yeah.
So management and, brand representation, doing jingles and stuff, all those different things add up, over time. Yeah.
How do you, I guess a lot of the royalties you get, this would be through big platforms like
Yes.
Spotify,
So,
YouTube and stuff like that.
so when you use like a PRO, I don't want to use too much terms that might be confusing. So when you use like a publisher, like let's say your CD Babies or your 1RPMs, those are publishers that allow you to put your music. You submit your music to them, and then they share it to the world on all these platforms, and then they give you your royalties. And then sometimes they'll ask for a percentage depending on the arrangement you have with them. Some might say 15%, or some of them you pay up front. I kind of went with the ones that they take a percentage because I figured if I already pay you, you might not be totally, working, doing your best on my behalf because you already got paid. You feel me?
Yeah. Definitely.
So I went with one that did that. But what happens is whenever the song gets streams, if let's say there's a share between, let's say me and you do a song, and we say, okay, half the song is mine and half is yours. We do what's called a 50-50 split.
Okay.
And then when I submit it to them, I put that information in there. And I also register with your ASCAPs or your BMIs, which are like, they do mechanical royalties and performance royalties. They collect that worldwide for you.
Yeah.
So what happens is when you register the music there, whoever's registered on the song, they get their share financially.
So they do all the financial.
Yeah,
logistics.
they do. Yeah, they do the finance. So you can actually go look at the streams, which country, and all these things like that, and then you'll see it. Let's say the song made like $1,000 US. You'll see they take their percentage, and then the split between you and whoever else is part of the song.
These systems really changed the game for countries like ours without that traditional infrastructure.
Right. It kind of helped in a way. Because you see, the thing is, I feel like if certain copyright laws are enforced locally, it actually might cause a lot of initial confusion, because a lot of the material we play on radio, if they have to stream them, sometimes you notice you get like flags and so on because you have to subscribe to like a copyright company to be able to use the licenses on your shows.
Yeah.
So like, for example, if you have a restaurant and you want to play like just all kinds of music, like you can go to ASCAP and have like a arrangement with them where you pay them, and then they allow you to play your music, so you don't get any like flags and all these things like that on your posts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. Like if we had to do that here, like the radio stations would have to probably, subscribe and pay to be able to play music.
Right now, radio stations, though, they work as kind of like a free-for-all in terms of like they can play whatever they want.
Because like I said again, like but the thing is, when they try to broadcast it on like Facebook and these platforms who are subscribing to that system, that's when they get flagged because they would have already tagged and ID'd the sound.
Yeah, that's why they always put that infringement clause at the top.
It's like, we're not trying to, it's not ours. It makes sense. And it makes sense. But like, again, even a lot of the things that we do sometimes without even knowing, like photocopying books and stuff like that, that's intellectual property as well. So
I'd mentioned this before in a podcast a while ago, a couple of years ago, but I remember a politician saying, because there was this, when we were talking about copyright laws at the time, we were talking about the push cart men, and they're like, look, like these guys are selling
CDs.
CDs of
And
all
I'll
the
give you a funny
artists.
story. That's like, so I remember in America, when I was in Atlanta, like you'd see police pulling over guys for selling DVDs and locking them up, like,
Yeah,
and sharing out their stuff because it was illegal. It's like actually like a crime.
It is,
you know?
yeah. So, but the politician was like, if we were to implement copyright laws, all the push cart men, they would lose their jobs.
Like a lot of printing houses as well would probably lose work
Yeah,
as well.
but I'm asking to myself, but what about the actual creators of the product?
Yeah, like they don't get
what
nothing.
what do these people have to push if we're ripping off the source? You know what I mean?
That's
That makes
facts.
no sense.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's not looked at as serious because we look at the bigger market. Yeah, these guys, it's only 1,000, maybe 500.
No,
push
but you know
cart men.
why? Because
But
I
I'm
think,
just saying,
I think
yeah.
the industry tradition, maybe not now today, but in the past has been so disrespected, where it's like, oh, there's like a hustle, there's a small hustle.
And honestly, like to be honest with you, like I understand, because if it is something that you could do, like why not do it?
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like I understand. Like I could see with, because sometimes they help the music, especially the push card guys. They help for those who don't have a name. They help your music to get out there.
Yeah.
Like they're playing music all through the streets. And people's like, yo, what song is this? And you got apps like Shazam. You could Shazam it and oh, cool, and you can find. So I understand.
yeah.
But-
Well. Now that you have the Spotify and the Apple Music, it makes sense now
Right.
because you can get you,
Right.
You
So
get
it doesn't really, and it doesn't really. I wouldn't say it doesn't really affect because our population is so small. Like they're not really
Correct.
eating a large portion of the pie from the push card perspective. Maybe from the streams on radio and stuff like that, or even like your songs being in jingles and stuff.
Yeah.
Because every time you get placed or synced for like TV in the States, you get a check.
yeah.
So if somebody says, like Netflix says, oh, let me use this song for you. So that's why I make sure I copyright my stuff.
Yeah.
Just in case, you never know.
No, absolutely. You got it.
Yeah.
You have to. How do you? So you're back. You've decided to go all in on the music. What sort of markets are you going after? Because, for example, me, I grew up in Guyana. Is a lot of dancehall, a lot of soca.
Right.
I love dancehall. I just like. I think like a part of like dancehall just make me feel like alive. Like it
I
just
understand.
triggers something
Yeah,
inside
the
of
energy.
me. The energy, right? It's just a very ego driven like
Larger than life.
larger than
energy,
life.
yeah.
The beats everything.
Yeah.
And I think the culture really speaks to us in Guyana.
Definitely, because it's similar, yeah.
It's similar. Actually, and just before this, I was looking at the interview because I'm always like the guests I have. I was like, I gotta look at like some interviews where I can get inspiration for questions. And I was looking at the interview with Russian,
Right, yeah, I know
Who's
Russian.
it-
He's big, he's huge.
I'm a big fan of his
Yeah,
work.
he's huge, yeah.
And but I was just thinking like in Jamaica, for example, they have all these like rhythms you can like that they play and multiple artists jump on and do their thing.
Yeah, oddly enough, that was a culture like back in the day, and it had stopped for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I don't remember, like they had the Diwali rhythms. And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had- Like for a while, they hadn't done that. Like Russian, I saw revamping that vibe because he brought
Yeah,
back
he brought
out
back
the
Go-Go rhythm.
Yeah,
But
because
now
like for a while,
rebranded
Yeah, for a
Dirty
while,
Money
yeah. For a while, like people were really doing that because I think the culture kind of moved away from that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for whatever reason. I think some of it had to do with financial reasons. Like sometimes when some artists feel like they probably weren't paid enough after, because sometimes a production house would bring onto rhythm with all these artists, and they would sell it to like your VPs, like it was just a big record label,
Okay.
VP Records, right? And then sometimes the artist might not necessarily get a big chunk of that because they were probably paid a little piece before to get their rights to the song, and then it blows up, and then some people years after say, I never get paid for my song. You'll see stories like that a lot.
Yeah.
So I think some people moved away from that, but no, the industry is a bit more transparent where you can have your agreements beforehand and people can get their stuff taken care of.
Do you think there's room for that here to do that kind of thing? That kind of
It has been done before, like I remember like when I was coming up, I don't know if you ever heard of Brutal Tracks Studios.
yeah.
So Brutal Tracks used to
on
do
Waterloo-
rhythms.
in Waterloo?
Yeah. So there was this guy, and I must give props to him. His name is Ken the Beatmaker. You probably should have him on here.
Okay.
He was one of the OGs that started like having rhythms where he put like Guyanese artists on them. But even though we didn't have an infrastructure to be able to monetize it, like you'd have like rhythms come out where like Crazy Ace and Isla Man and Jory and these guys would hop on and you'd be playing all over the place, and they would get work. They would get gigs to perform because this rhythm was, stuff like that. So it kind of helped to put money in their pocket in terms of like performance, because you get like a hot song, you could get jobs from the perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is the state of music here right now?
All right, so I think the state of music in Ghana is in a better place than it was before, because I've seen more efforts towards communicating with the creatives and having conversation and asking them what they want to do and how can we help. So the conversation is there. How it pans out is yet to be seen, but I feel better knowing that we've actually had conversations now where you can ask me, what would y'all need to be able to produce better music? And how can we help? And actually see people being brought in. Another workshop we had recently was with a guy that writes for your Machel Montanos, your Patrice Roberts, your everybody. He was here and he did a workshop telling us how his method.
Yeah.
So that was an eye opener because we've been writing and sometimes we've been going about it in a just a haphazard manner. And he showed us like a formula.
Someone who's very non-musical inclined like that, what would be like an example of that? Like, how would you think about a song versus how they think about a song?
So one of the
approach.
things, one of his approaches were be very simple but direct. So sometimes we try to be so cerebral that we use too many words. We try to sound smart. And
I find
he's
we're very literal. Sorry, like we always have to say, one people, one nation, one
yeah,
destiny.
Like or sometimes it's like there's not enough provocation of thought.
Yes.
You just like, so like I wrote a song for Calvin Burnett the other day called Handyman. And it talks about if you need a mason to lay down bricks, make sure that the mixtures thick. A plumber to lay down pipe, a working day or night, carpenter to nail it good, or even supply strong wood. Like it was playing on words that if you think about it from just a regular perspective, okay, he's down with a carpenter or a plumber or somebody. But like I like stuff like that. And he talked about being able to provoke thought, but at the same time not be too confusing in too many words. People should be able to sing, the song after they heard it twice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming once you
and I
get
should call
that,
his name, by the way. His name is Jason Schaff Bishop. Very good writer. He's written for everybody
Where's
in
he
the
from?
Caribbean. He's from, I think, from Trinidad.
Okay.
But he's written for like everybody, like all the big names, blacks, just everybody. If you see his credits, it's like ridiculous. Yeah. So that was a very good opportunity for creators like myself. Because sometimes when I work with big artists, they just write and then you produce. So sometimes I'm not necessarily involved in the writing process with them. Sometimes they'll just have an idea and I'll give my opinion. But and especially this is for soca specifically because each genre has a different method sometimes.
Yeah.
So I got a chance to see soca because I was a big fan of soca because I grew up where I listened to gospel and R&B.
Yeah.
So I was a big R&B guy. And soca was just kind of like a necessity because that's what we listened to and people asking you to make that. So I ended up researching and studying that to be able to produce it so I could make some money.
Well, in that same note, then why we don't make much dancehall music that doesn't make money?
Okay, so when you make music that sounds like something else, people will usually go for the originator.
Meaning?
Okay, so if Jamaica is known for dancehall, why am I going to buy a watered down version in their minds of dancehall?
So then what's the open market here?
I'm just saying that this is just the opinion. So people will more go for the original than come to Guyana and have Guyanese artists tour sometimes doing certain music, unless you blow up in your own space because sometimes we don't have our own identity when it comes to music. I've seen it recently coming to the forefront where you're now trying to use our own accent. That helps because it gives a different song to dancehall.
Yeah.
But before you have people like, yo, I want brother, I'm not business with them, I do it. So they sound like Jamaican. So why would I want a fake Jamaican,
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But my thing is though, is like, why not have the dancehall genre? You could have the dancehall genre musically with guy. I mean, C Kush kind of does that.
But Kush, that's my guy. Yeah. So like guys like
Sorry,
Kush.
is it Kush?
Yeah, it's Kush with a C.
Yeah, okay.
You said because the K is silent.
Okay, my fault.
Nah,
Kush.
it's all good. That's my guy.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, no, Kush. You should. Have you had him before?
No, I would love to.
Yeah, I'll make the link.
Yeah,
Kush is
you.
good people. You'll love. Yeah, he's very smart. Very very smart. So so how should I put this? I hope you mind I'm grabbing this pill.
No.
Yeah. So
That's what it's there for.
so guys like Quasius, Jory, and those guys started using it and making it cool because sometimes when you study an art form, you kind of can study it and actually mimic it to the point where you sound just like them.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to separate you from them in terms of sound, other than the fact that you don't have the same opportunities because you're not in the same culture per se. Like they can probably do stuff in Jamaica and get recognized in their market, and then they can blow up and go from there. But if you're sounding like them all the way in the southern hemisphere, then how are you gonna get out there?
Yeah.
So when you have your own song now, where you can have the same beats, but your accent speaks to a different sound in terms of the presentation, then that can be like your difference to kind of set you apart.
Where does that I mean, at this stage of the game, where does that particularly come from? That'd be pop culture, right? I mean, we'd have to relate on a pop culture esque way to people.
Yes. I mean, yeah, like, because sometimes being different isn't always readily accepted. You know, sometimes you're just trying to song a certain way so you can be accepted. But I must say, it's not straying away from your point. I just want to make sure, because I know people can look at this. We've had a large group of young people now being proud of their culture and actually using their accents, you know, to sing, like Azariel, Stiffy. You find a lot of guys now using their, you know, Carvin Burnett. You never hear Carvin sounding like a Jamaican, even if he's singing reggae, because, you know, his voice is, you know, Guyanese. So like a lot of these guys are doing it now, and it's actually allowing us to be able to have a little space where people respect our craft, and you know, because it's like when you sometimes you even on the radio you hear DJs talking, and I'll be like, yo, this guy's from Jamaica or is he Guyanese? Because it just sounds different, and it's no diss. I mean,
No,
you know,
it's
it's just the facts, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you ask them and they feel offended, but I really don't know, because we got guys who are from Jamaica that are DJs in Guyana.
Yeah.
You know, so you know it's kind of weird. So now I think we're finding our own identity where we can actually speak to our people and they accept it, because sometimes even your own people don't accept you. It's kind of hard to you know, be yourself if they don't even accept who you are in terms of your own song. I don't like the way we sung.
As a creative, why do you think that is? Because many creatives reflect on the same question.
I think sometimes there's lack of pride in our own culture, not just us alone, but our people. Like if we give them something that that they're kind of not proud of, then they won't accept it. So we sometimes are afraid to give it out anyway.
Yeah.
You feel me? Yeah, like Jamaicans are proud of their accent. I've had Guyanese friends that when they go abroad, they automatically sound like Americans, you know? Like, what's up, dude? How you doing? I'm good, man. What's good, bro?
Yankee.
Thank you for having me here, man. And it's like, wow, you just reached, you know, so like sometimes the lack of self-pride could cause us to be that way, you know what I mean? And I think we're having a more
I think we've all felt it at some point.
Yeah,
in all
yeah,
fairness,
facts.
I would admit.
Yeah, because I used to be the guy in school talking like a Guyanese and be like, yo, where you from? I like Guyana. Like, oh, Africa. Like, oh, this again, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like Jim Jones. They're like, oh, yes.
Jones.
I'm like, but he was one of yours, though. He was,
Yeah.
So we've had this. So, like, you know, but I got a lot more proud recently when I saw, like, people, you know, and I think it has sometimes had to do with how we feel about ourselves. Like, Guyanese had this new self-pride after we found out that we were oil rich. So, like, there was, like, a new level of patriotism. Yeah, right. So, like, now I was like, you can't really tell me that I'm from Guyana. We got plenty oil. I've heard these conversations. I hear them over and over. So I think sometimes it's self-pride again, you know, and having, you know, recently even me working with a very big superstar dancehall artist. He actually came to Guyana to work on this album.
I heard it's Dexter Daps.
Yeah. So he came to Guyana.
Big fan of him.
Yeah,
too.
man. Humble. And this is again a testament of me learning again about humility. Like he's probably one of the biggest artists, you know, I've seen, you know, up close and like followed them in terms of like being on a tour setting with them, and his level of humility. Like he will take pictures all day, every day.
How'd that connection happen?
It's funny story. All right. Oh my God, you're not gonna believe. So remember I told you I would post clips and so on, and I would tag artists in them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tagged him on a beat. I don't remember the name, but I tagged him in the beat, and I was like, and I put my phone down and I got downstairs because I was off that day. I remember clearly I was in the kitchen, and I went back up to see, you know, if I got like my little 5-6 likes that I usually get, right? Sorry. And I came back to the phone and I saw Exodap's message you, and I was like, it's probably fake. And I was like sitting there for like a couple of seconds, like, let me check it anyway. So I click on it and I see, yo, Wagwan. And I'm like, there's a tick, right? And I was like, this probably is fake. Let me click on the profile. I clicked on the profile, and it was like, I never forget, it was like 860 something thousand followers. I was like, yo, this can't be fake. Oh my God. So I'm excited. I called the wife. I was like, babe, Dexter Daps just messaged me. She's like, really? Oh my God, are we excited? And she's like, wait, who's Dexter Daps again? And I'm like, oh God. She's just excited for me, right? Because, you know, she's my wife. She's like, if I'm happy, then it's a big deal.
Shout out to the supportive
Yeah,
wives.
man. Shout out to my wife. You know, she's at work at this time. So she just left. Whatever she's doing, that she's just on the phone with me. We're excited. So we're messaging now, and he's like, yo, your sound is really good. I'll hit you up later. Just take my number and give me yours, and we'll link up. I'll call you this afternoon. This was like the longest afternoon ever, bro. Like this afternoon, taking long for call. I'm like, yo, babe, it's like 6 o'clock. He ain't call. Oh God, like he ain't gonna call. Like I'm be honest with you, because this is big. Coming from Guyana, you know, like we've never really had like on that level that I knew of at the time. I mean, now we got like Slingers with Kevin and them guys doing production with Popcorn and everybody, but back then it's like unheard of, at least for me. So I'm like, he ain't gonna call me, you know. Of course, he was in Jamaica at the time, so they're all behind anyway. So he's probably still thinking it's cool. Anyway, I get a call from like a Canadian number. And I answer, of course, because I didn't know where he was at the time. And it was his manager. He's like, "Hey, what's up, Joey?" Guy had a deep voice, Canadian accent. I'm blah, blah, blah. And I'm calling on behalf of Dexter. He told me about your production if you want to do some work with you. I'm like, yes. My wife here in speakerphone. I'm like, yes. So then I look at the phone and I see an incoming call. It says Dexter Daps is calling you. I just hung up with the manager. Swear to God. I didn't even say like, hold on, give me a second. I just hung up. Hello? Because I mean, like, bear in mind, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan at this time. And like, I'm like talking to the manager, but the artist is actually calling me. I had to apologize after, of course, but I just hung up on him. I was like, yo, what's up?
Understandable.
He's like, yo, I'll go on. Blah, blah, blah. And then my wife is screaming in the background. He's like, who that? I was like, that's my wife. He's like, let me talk to her. And then he's like, yo, your husband is talented. We can do a lot of work together, blah, blah, blah. And I'm still like happy, but I'm in my mind, I'm like, probably lying, you know? Because we still in the nut at this time, you know. So over the course now, he's like, this beat that you tagged me in that said a Dexter Daps type beat, he said, send that to me. And then 2 days later, he sends me a video of him and Taris Riley singing to the beat in a studio setting. And I'm like, oh my God. You know, so the excitement is even crazier then. So it's like, yo, Dexter Daps and Taris Riley singing on my beat. And it went from there, and we ended up actually doing a song on that instrumental that was released on his second album called Vent. I actually ended up doing like 8 songs in the album because it was like an album first, then it was a deluxe which had more songs added. So I did like 8 songs on that album. And then I did like 1 single after the album dropped, which was called Low Key. And then on this album, I did 4 songs. Out of the 15, and I did production on another one with Massacre and Dexter Daps, but that was produced by TJ Records. Big up to TJ Records. He's worked with Vibes Cartel and everybody.
Yeah.
But it was just like went from being like nobody, you know, in like 1 second to like being, because you know, even in Guyana, like sometimes you have your local artists you work with and they're cool with you, but then there might be people like, yeah, they don't like your song, they don't, you know, because I was very piano based because I play. Remember I told you I grew up in church.
Yeah.
And dance hall when I was younger was bass driven. Now it's like melody driven. If you listen to like your popcorns and it's like a lot of singing. Or even if they can't sing, they're out of tune and stuff. So like I just happened to be, you know, the perfect sound. No, back then I was not. You know, I didn't have the sound.
Right place, right time.
But yeah, exactly. So now it's like my type of vibe is like valuable. So that was like how that whole thing happened, and I was able to develop a relationship over time where now, you know, he respects my sound, and he doesn't ask me to be different. He says, just do you.
Yeah.
Wherever you hear, you do that. So I didn't have to now try to be a dancehall producer. I was just being Joey2Kool.
Yeah.
So and my song had a song of a little bit of gospel, a little bit of all R&B, a little bit of everything, all of the songs that I grew up hearing. Because keep in mind, when I was in college, I used to play at a church in the US, a couple of churches. That was like my part-time gig. So I was able to hear gospel music even from the Baptist sound, you know, the sound of, you know, organs. And so like my music was now even more diverse than just like your run-of-the-mill hymns.
But that is quite Dexter Daps though.
Because he likes the mood, like R&B kind of vibe.
Like, it's almost like, I look at it as like sexually charged church.
Yeah, right. It's like, they call it slackness, right? So the sound is it's almost like R&B with a Jamaican accent.
Yeah, it's not, it's great, great niche though.
Yeah, and I mean like, and his following is crazy. Like the women love, and women are some of the biggest supporters of music. Yeah, because they'll buy your tickets and go and scream and but guys, we can just
pretend to look cool. You know?
Only if Miguel go in.
This time to go.
So I like, I really want to go, but yeah. So you know, man.
No, so I guess a good lesson for that to just local people is, you know, you just gotta throw out your belly sometimes.
Yeah, man. You just and I think so. I was even able to work with Bungie. You know, Bungie Garland is.
Oh yeah.
So I was able to work with Bungie Garland as well. Like
great freestyler, by the way.
Oh yeah, man, real talent. Yeah. Like even doing the same thing. I tagged him in the beat, and he's like, "Yo, well going." You know, like his accent is like Bungie's voice is deep. Like yeah, man. We did some work, you know. He has the Trini accent, right? He's like, send me some stuff, and this is like, so I sent him some stuff. And 3 years passed. That's why when Dexter hit me up, I was like, he ain't gonna hit me up. Because Bungie spoke, and I was excited, and nothing happened for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So imagine my disappointment. And I had him in WhatsApp and everything, and I still kept sending him beats because I had his number now. So I would send him beats, and what I did was I used to create artwork. So if you look in my chat with Dexter Daps, you'll see Broken, and you'll see artwork associated with like Broken something, and then we have Joey2Kool Productions, Broken. So there's like like when he looks in his phone and his messages, he'll see a picture. And he'll be like, oh, let me hear this. So I created an environment.
Visual cue.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So to strike his interest and even his creativity. He spoke about this in interviews before, we're
But it's almost like you were creating like an algorithm for your WhatsApp correspondence.
Right,
Because you
exactly.
know that's the whole like thing
bro,
online,
you got
YouTube.
figured how to get their attention.
Yeah.
Because you got people like hitting them up every day. Like I wasn't wrong, Dexter Tops, and I hope he doesn't get mad for this, but I saw Dexter Tops talking to Burna Boy and Trey Songz and like on DMs. You know what I mean? And I was like, so if a man like me messaging Champ now at this point in time, I might be left on red forever because the people who talking to him is like superstars.
Yeah.
But I had to create like something to kind of set myself apart from everybody else.
That's such a valuable lesson there
Yeah.
because it's like you can't, and even when you take that big risk of reaching out, even that at times could
You can
not
still-
be enough.
Yeah, you can
know?
still, and then so fast forward a couple of years after, 3 years after, Bungie hit me and be like, yo, so Apple Music want to do a project, right? His voice. And we need some music, so send me some tracks. I said, I don't do soca. He's like, you don't have to be soca, brother. Just send me everything you have. Just exactly like this. And I was like, all right, cool. So of course I've been making beats for a while now. So I had like 500 beats. So I looked for like the best ones that I think would kind of fit his style. And I sent him like 40 beats. So keep in mind,
40.
yeah. So if I wasn't prepared, I would have nothing to send. And he might not stumble on something that he actually likes because Bungie could pull from anywhere. He knows everybody. So I send him 40 beats and I don't hear anything. And again, I was like, oh God, not again. And then a couple of days later, he's like, yo, boss, all of these rhythms hard, but I find something. And I think I have something for the wife too. No? Forgive me if my Trini accent is bad. I'm just trying to do the
I
Bungie
love
voice.
it.
And I'm like, what? All right, cool. So Bungie got off recording his vocals and stuff. And he's like, I'm going to send you the vocals. I want you to mix it. Now, keep in mind, in my mind, I'm not a mix engineer. I'm a producer because it's a different hat. So producer makes the instrumental, sometimes assists in the writing and arranging of the track and so on. And then you send it off to another professional who adds the polishing. And then you send it to the master engineer who brings it up to industry standard.
Yeah.
Sometimes in Guyana, we wear all 3 hats or all 4 hats. And sometimes quality is lost along the way because we're not the professional at any of those levels. We're just
I
decent.
could relate to that. Yeah.
Right. So now he's like, no, boss, I think you could do it. You do the mix. I'm like, oh my God. So I was in studio. I swear I was in studio for like 3 days. I just went home for showers and I came back just because I wanted to do my best. And I was able to get a placement with him for the Apple Music project. And his wife also did a song on one of my beats as well. So I ended up getting from that specific project 2 songs released with the Bungie Garland. And we have a very good relationship since then. Again, yeah, man. And just send, and everyone I sent him the
Congratulations on
beats.
all this success.
I appreciate you,
It's
bro.
so crazy.
And even when sending him the beats now, I'm able to like have a conversation now with him because he now trusts my song. He knows that I'm I'm a professional. And like again, like I said, some of these guys who are big are so humble. And I've seen people who got like one big song, in their own neighborhood.
They've arrived.
And they just reach already, And it's
Yeah.
not no diss nobody, but like that's why I still try to maintain a level of humility because, you never know where you're gonna go or who's gonna need to help you later on. Because I've had people be mean to me and they try to be nice to me now because I'm in a different position now to kind of, I guess, help them.
Yeah.
So you don't never know where you're gonna be.
I wanna talk about that. A number of things on that regard.
Sure.
So you have created, like for example, you said you sent Bungie 40 songs and you had all
40
those
beats, yeah.
40 beats, sorry, and you had all those locked and loaded. You're and when I spoke to Megan here the other day, she was like, when she reached out to you, you already had a song loaded for her.
Yeah,
Like,
Megan
you
is
were
a
ready,
talent.
You were ready for
Yeah,
her.
man.
Shout out to her, by the way.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Pick up yourself.
Yeah. God sister.
She
Friend from
really
long, yeah.
Nah, she's super. So can we talk about her for a little bit?
Sure.
I
Absolutely.
remember hearing about her years ago. I was really, really young then. And she was super talented. I would see her everywhere. And then she kind of disappeared from the scene for a while. And I was wondering what happened. She popped up on a Shensia show.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, y'all forgive me. I was like, who's this white girl in Guyana? Like, it's a Guyanese. I'm like, what? And I was like, oh, yes, I remember her. But remember, I hadn't seen her in years. I was like, she sounds good. And I was like, I just left it alone because I got this way, like, I don't reach out to people because I hate rejection. So I was like, all right, whatever.
Don't we all?
Yeah. So, but I don't reach out to people like that I don't know. Or because like, for example, I didn't know these guys, but I figured like this is what my niche is, my song is, I want to work with them. But sometimes with even our own local talent, you reach out to them. Sometimes you might get, who you work with.
Yeah.
I know you know what I mean? So, and then seeing her on the stage, I was like, she probably, they're not gonna work with me, whatever. Fast forward to a couple days later, Remix Chick, big up yourself. She recommended me. She's like, Joey's one of the best. I'm like, really? We talking about the same person, And I was like, wow, cool. And then when I met her, she's like, she asked everybody. They're like saying like Joey's the person you should talk to. And as soon as we started talking, I was like, yo, this girl is super talented. She talking and singing. And I was like, all right, let's get together. She's like, I'll send you, or my friend, she said, send me something. And I sent her a beat. She's like, you got more? I was like, I got tons more. I said, well, let's take our time. I want to make sure your first song is really good. So I sent her a track because she wanted to do reggae. And I was pleasantly surprised that she could actually pull off reggae because I heard her singing dancehall with Shensia, but I didn't know she could do reggae. And she's very good at writing. So she sent me some material and I was like, oh my God, this is good. But she was in the States. So I'm like, how we can do this? She's like, I'll come back to Guyana to record. So she actually took a flight from where she was in New York, right? And came back to Guyana. We recorded. Within one day, we recorded the whole song, got everything done. And then I would mix it after she left. But I got busy working on the album and stuff. So I ended up having on Dexter's album. So I had to I actually sent it to one of my buddies in Canada to mix the song because he's really good. His name is called The Journey. Very good producer. He produced a lot of Jamaican artists. Even he does a lot of gospel, gospel dancehall stuff. Sent it to him, somebody I trust, to mix the album, to mix the record. Sorry, he sends it back. It sounds amazing. I sent it to her. She had a couple of corrections she wanted to change. And then from there, it was a vibe. When I would look on the streams, she was getting a lot of streams. I was like, you got a lot of fans, man.
Yeah.
So
it's a good song.
Yeah, it is. And I think even with her, if you ask her experience, and you'll see from your podcast, she grew up having a lot of rejection from her own people, from her own space for many different reasons. Some people might say, oh, you don't look like Guyanese, or your song, like for me, your song is too churchy. Everybody got their own opinion of what you should sound like.
Well, it goes back to the same convo we have about this sort of this inability for Guyanese to just support and appreciate their own.
Appreciate your own thing.
Sometimes you just gotta unconditionally support to get the momentum going.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, it's crazy, and it's funny how someone like Megan is the one sort of jumping headfirst into reggae vibe.
I know, right? It's like, what? She's good though.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. She's a very diligent student.
Yeah.
I've seen her growth within the space of us working for a month. By the way, she has a video coming out soon. Plug.
I know.
Plug. Yeah.
She plugged it. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's a very diligent worker. She's doing big things now. She's even writing for some big names. Yeah, man. So she's actually diving headfirst into an industry where not too long ago, people didn't really see the talent from here, because I think we're all talented in our own right. It's just sometimes having the opportunity.
Exactly.
Having the opportunity. So with me now, I'm working with Dexter, made it easy now for people to know who I am, because my name is now in a space where people actually okay, this is the guy that produced this. Oddly enough, if ever you hear one of my productions, you'll hear a voice says, Joey2Kool production.
Yeah.
That's my daughter.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. When she was 3 years old, I was like, babe, can you record this for me?
That's adorable.
She's like, Joey2Kool production. I was like, and then she starts laughing. I'm like, I'm gonna keep that. So I kept the laughs. If you listen to it, the laughter is in the end of it as well, right?
Yeah.
So even on Dexter Dap song here, him singing in here, Joey2Kool production. And I'm like, oh. So she's like, Daddy, she's 6 now. She's like, Daddy, so when are you gonna pay me? I was like, pay you for what? She's like, because I'm on the song, Daddy. I'm like, if you don't leave me alone. But of course, it's just, that's how she's
coming for you.
I know, right?
For those royalties.
Yeah, of course. And of course, and I would love to. My plan is to have them, her and my kids, my son as producers on my projects.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
Whenever God takes me away, they'll be able to, reap the benefits of having a father who was in music.
The fact that you could even think like that. It just goes to show how much promise we have for our industry.
Definitely.
Because you're seeing that,
Yeah, man, definitely. I think we have now seen that the only difference between us and others is sometimes us having an opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and also that means that we have to be prepared.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, I remember when I was going to school, when I was at Roses, and even when I was at Queen's College, whenever the guys would have these freestyling song clashes, sometimes the teachers would say, yo, stop the nonsense. Yo, stop the, and in Jamaica, this culture is cultivated. Mm-hmm. They love, it's like, yeah, they don't, them guys singing and doing the thing. So it's actually started from young, whereas sometimes some of us got to go and do it somewhere else, or we got to find a car, and we don't even have those facilities.
You are speaking to me right now, because I always tell people, I'm like, our educational system, look, I believe in discipline. I believe in values. I believe in respect. But we cannot use dominance as a replacement for
discipline. I think leverage. I think leverage is what the type of discipline that you use. I am in authority, and I can mete out punishment to you.
Yes,
I think we can lead by influence.
That crushes creativity.
Yeah. So influence is, I think, because I learned this in the military. like there's different styles of leadership, right? And when I was doing some reading, I realized like one of the styles of leadership that allows you to have long-term success is called the leadership by influence, where if you influence your subordinates or those under your command to follow you and believe in your methods, they'll follow you anywhere. But if you tell them this is what can happen to you if you don't do what I say, they can do it for now, but they can become a point in time where they might just get so frustrated that they won't listen anymore. But if they believe in who you are and they believe in your methods, they follow you because you're influencing them to believe what you're saying, then they'll follow you anywhere. And even like after I would have left the military, I still see people on the road like, "Good morning, sir." And they salute, and I was like, "Yo, calm down," because they still respect and again, sometimes the culture teaches you to be one way, and sometimes you can learn your own styles as well. And that's what I learned in the military, because I had many great leaders in the military. Some of them leverage, some of them influence, some of them by example. Different things. So I took a little bit of everything and I tried to use that to my advantage.
True.
Yeah. So I think in the school system, now if you have like leadership by example, then it will help our young people to be able to understand that they're not just talking down to us, but they're actually showing us a way. And I find like a lot of teachers sometimes try to do that, but the system is set in a certain way where there's not enough scope to do otherwise. It might just be my experience.
No, that's a great take. I love that.
Yeah, it might just be my experience, but I saw it that way.
That's a great take. By the way, I love how we're just all over the place. This is
Yeah,
what a podcast
sorry.
should. No.
You could edit all this out.
This is what no editing, dude. This is what a
Yeah.
podcast is. I
man.
love this.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
feel like we're not even podcasting.
Yeah, we're just having a conversation.
And I'm so interested. I just want to double back to so having all these beats on file, right?
Right.
Obviously, there's a time before the Dexadap messages, before the Bunji messages, before working with all these artists and doing all the money-making work. There's a time where you're alone. There's a lot of uncertainty.
Oh, yes.
Why? And also, like, when you spend so much time, I don't know how long it takes you to make a beat.
It varies, but yeah.
But when you're making a beat, right? And you're thinking like, how do you make something and you're like, oh my God, this is fire, this is amazing? How do you just shelf that and then go on to the next one? Because I would work. I'm just thinking as an outsider, I'm working linearly, right? I'm like, I make this fire beat. I gotta find an artist to put on this. Then I gotta go with the artist and the song and promote that. But you're just like racking them up, and you have that on file, so you have that ammunition for any opportunity.
Right.
How do you do it like that? Because most, like we spoke about earlier with artists, it's like I produces one piece of good work,
right,
and I'm gonna ride this out for as long as possible.
Right. So, oh my God, that's a good question. Reason being is because when I first started making beats, I would fall in love with my productions to the point where I'll be stuck on one for like weeks, trying to get somebody to sing on it, and I couldn't move on. So I had to realize, and this is from working with other producers at the same time, that sometimes it might have the right song but not the right artist, or it might not be the right time. So I started, and I used to get stuck sometimes where I'll be making a beat. I had to force myself not to procrastinate and just finish, because I'll be so caught up in the song or the beat that I will be like 4 days and I still working on one beat, and because I don't know where to go with it, because I want it to be perfect, and I realized perfection is good to strive for, but it's not always attainable. So I was like, you know what, this beat got finished. So I started getting into the habit of just completing beats. As I was able to move on from one to the other. Sometimes, like Dexter sent me a track. He's like, Joey, send me this file, the files for this beat, the stems. And I was like, this is my beat? Because I made it so long ago. Like I had to become not so emotionally attached to them sometimes, because
it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it was like your children. You bring them from nothing, and then they're like now little babies, and then now you got to present them to the world, and then you're kind of like scared. You don't want to give it to the wrong person, or you don't want to see them shelved and not given any attention. But I had to understand that at the end of the day, for it to find the right person, sometimes time has to pass.
And you gotta let go.
Yeah, you just gotta let go. So now I have a connection to all of the beats, because they every time I hear one of my productions, it puts me back into a place. I can tell you where I was, what I was doing. Sometimes even the names of the instrumental, like I have rhythms like Skittles rhythm. Yeah. I can tell you I was in my garage in Atlanta, and I was making a beat, and I had a pack of half open Skittles, half used Skittles, and I just like name Skittles rhythm. Yeah, I promise you, like, or having a bad relationship experience and like heartbroken. That's the name of the beat. Cool. Or Cross. Or whatever. I'm just saying, like, whatever comes to mind. The inspiration comes from many people, but I will remember where I was. So I had to kind of just detach myself a little bit from, the love of the music in terms of like these little beats, in order for me to move on. Yeah. Because it's like a relationship with the song. Like I sometimes put myself in third person when I'm making music. It's weird. I know, right? It's
No,
like
it's not. I mean, it's fascinating.
so he's gonna play the drums. Who's he? Me. And then he's gonna play the piano. And then this other guy is gonna play the saxophone. And this other guy is gonna play the marimba. But all these guys are me. But I'm talking about myself in order to have an overall perspective of what I'm doing musically.
Yeah.
And sometimes it sounds crazy because I'm like listening to the song, I was like, this man, I ain't hearing this man at all. But this man is me, but I'm like talking about like what I'm playing in terms of the mix. I have to
Yeah.
pull up this guy who is me, but like whatever he's doing there. So sometimes you have these weird conversations. I remember having people in the studio looking at me like, this guy is crazy. He is nuts.
Isn't it so cool though that that's the kind of thing we have to do to keep ourselves engaged?
Oh yeah, man.
Because you come
definitely.
up with your own mental systems to make it work, right?
So it's like Joey has the like little minions in his brain working on the
yeah.
track. So we got the drummer, we got the guy who was looking after the trumpet section, and then I just compartmentalize everything in terms of who does what, but it's still me. So when I'm doing my research, I'm researching for the brass player in my head, the keyboardist in my head, the drum in my head, the bass, just everybody. So when I now come to the production, I'm always inspired by one of these little sections of my personality. Because even with Dexter's last album, he had 3 different segments of the album. He had reality, he had the explicit part, and then he had like real life, so he's showing how he's inspired as well. So I kind of broke myself down into those parts in order to be able to see the music purely from the perspective of a musician who plays those different instruments.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind, again, I grew up playing steel pan, in school and drums and bass guitar, and I played saxophone. So I played a lot of instruments, so I was exposed. So it allowed me to see music from that perspective.
That's cool.
It's kind of weird. I'm sorry.
No, dude.
It's like
Please,
this guy is-
I'm
it's a
just
weirdo.
like, I love this kind of conversation.
Yeah, man,
Like
so-
I'm like eating this up. If you had to, like, maybe you might not know the number, but if you had to guess, how big is your catalog?
In terms of like just beats or the songs I would have done.
Beats.
Bro,
Talking couple hundred.
it's like over 500, bro. Like,
Okay.
yeah, like there's stuff that I lost from just like the hard drives stopped loading.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I was at AIU, I had these used to have these books. Used to call, I think it was like WD, used to make a hard drive called My Book.
Yeah. I know what
Yeah,
you're
and
talking
used to
about.
like have to plug a power adapter into it, and I plugged the wrong power adapter. And it I just started pow, and that was it. And I could try to recover like stuff from like, bro. And it's like sometimes you would hear like I would find like the MP3 version of the song on the hard drive somewhere, but I don't have the files actually. Yeah. So I'm like I got probably make this back. I don't even have this sound anymore. I don't have access to this instrument anymore. So yeah, but over 500, bro, like easy. Because like thus far I probably like with just Dexter alone I've probably done over like 13 or 14 songs.
Wow.
So keep in mind, to get to those amounts, I had to make way more beats for him to go through to pick those sometimes.
I want to talk about because you obviously have an experience having your production company, having artists signed to you.
Right.
What is the general, if you were to describe the state of artists in Guyana?
Oh boy. From
What-
which perspective? Like
From the perspective of
Creativity
of
or-
everything,
Okay.
of how are they operating in their space? Like what is their general approach, both the good and the bad?
Okay.
And then how are they approaching doing this as a livelihood? Because you found your niche.
yeah, and I'll be honest with you. So I manage an artist who actually does music for a living. Calvin Burnett, right in Guyana.
But Calvin's super special though.
Yeah, he's an anomaly actually
Yeah.
because again. So let me give you a backstory. He grew up in church.
I could see that.
His mom is like a Seventh-day pastor. She's a pastor in the church. So again, church has cultivated a lot of great talent. Just being around, singing all day, every day, you kind of pick up something. So, but he does what he does for a living. And I think the state of music in Guyana is in a good place. I should say better than it was before, because we have more creatives now having access to information that allows them to see behind the veil. Like, for example, your podcast. You might have a producer out there looking on now. He's able to see and learn from how I did it. So now he has a model to follow. You know what? When I make my beats, let me put some artwork or something. So we're in a space now where we have access to information that will allow us to be able to be better. And I've seen...
Just quickly to interject there, and not to go off topic
Sure.
too long, but do you think traditionally information is held close to the chest? That's how
Yes.
we start to run it?
Yes, yes, and for many reasons. Some good and some bad. Because sometimes when you give information without context, it can be demonized. Like it can be confusing. So sometimes you keep the information because the person is not mature enough to understand. And then sometimes you have people who keep information for selfish reasons. I work so hard to get here, and you can't just come overnight and just get this. So yes, for those, in my mind, for those reasons, because sometimes again, too much light too soon can blind you.
Yeah.
If you get information without context or understanding, how to use it, it doesn't do any good. It might do you more harm than good. So I've seen people withhold information for that reason, and also for people who just feel like you don't deserve to know this, or I don't want you to surpass me. You can do good, but just don't do better than me.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Back. To
That's
you.
fine. Yeah. So I find a lot of creatives are now using the social platforms more because they see others doing it and they've been inspired to do so. And I think that's a good place to be because your music now has the opportunity to be heard by millions of people all over the world. I've had people, when I look at the streams, I've seen people from Finland, all over the world, just, liking and streaming songs that would, before not be able to hear them. So I think we're in a good place when it comes to striving for better quality. Like if you look at some of my music videos, I've had people from overseas like, yo, I love this video for Guide My Way. Where was this shot? This was shot in Berbice. Oh, Berbice or in Guyana? Yeah. So like I've seen, people now getting a chance to see our music. And I've even seen musicians be a bit more professional in their approach to music. You still have people who, are learning or feeling the way, but for those who are on a certain level, I see them even being more driven now. Because opportunities are being afforded. I got friends in like Chutney, the Chutney fraternity that tour every weekend.
Really?
Yeah,
Where?
they're in Florida, Canada, all over.
But what about the people who are like, and again, I don't blame at all, and I totally support unconditionally Guyanese artists who go abroad to get those opportunities and those careers.
Right.
But for the ones who stay here, I like at least the ones I see, and I feel like we can give more local artists more exposure. But the ones I see are very image driven and self promoting, like most artists should be.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah.
But you're not really seeing the material out there.
Yes, and that's one thing too as well. I think sometimes, and this is not always their fault, and I'm glad you asked the question. Production is not cheap.
Yeah.
Production isn't cheap because you even having this production set here, and I don't want to expose anything, but that camera in front there is over $500,000 Guyana dollars.
Don't bleep that out.
You will? I'm just like,
no, I hear you.
yeah. So imagine being able to do this on this level. It takes investment and it takes time and it takes sacrifice. And so to be able to produce one song sometimes might cost a decent song, might cost an artist well over like $100,000. And some of them don't have the financial input to be able to do that. So sometimes they lack material, not because they don't want to have, but they can't afford it. And for those who have a lot of material, they might be financing it from a different way. Or they might be working with someone who doesn't charge them a lot because their quality probably sometimes isn't on that level yet. Or, they're not feeling the way out as well. So sometimes not having a lot of material isn't always up to the artist alone. Sometimes it has to be with their financial situation or the relationships that they would have fostered. Because some of my artists, they don't have to pay up front to come and record.
Yeah.
They just come in and record. And then, when we get gigs and so on, as management or as producer, there's a percentage that is set aside for your input in their careers.
Gotcha.
You understand where I'm coming from? So you say that you don't have to, because for example, sometimes you could charge somebody like $10,000 an hour for just studio time. Imagine the average man who's working for $120,000 a month to come into the studio and a song might take like 6 hours to finish.
Yeah.
Half his check is gone. So, if you have a relationship now where there's an agreement and then as a management or producer, you can put them in a position to get work, then you'll also get paid. I'm not saying this is the method for everybody.
No.
But I've seen this work for me.
I mean, I'm assuming there are also other ways like where, and again, I hate putting all of our artistic creative responsibility on the government because it should not be that way.
And I'll be honest with you, like in many other countries, like those governments don't really play such a big part in the creative development.
But we have, that's just our sort of Guyanese in general.
Yeah, we
it's
just expect our
fallback. Government got to do everything.
Yeah, and in a way, because of the financial situation here, because over in Jamaica now you have an industry that's been going for a while. Like a lot of the private sector see it, I guess, feasible to invest sometimes in some artists to help them along.
Right.
Not always, because you got the grassroots people that still push and come out. But yeah.
For sure. No, my point is that because the Ministry of Culture is doing such a great job with all these initiatives, if they were to example have artists apply for grants and then they could have a part-time, just even if it was like you, and then you guys have a deal of, okay, for this X amount of money, we just produce these amount of songs.
So I actually asked that question one time. I got in trouble for it, but I was like, Mr. President, how about if we subsidize costs for studio recording for for young people who show talent but don't have the finances. And he was like, okay, and he talked about like how many studios do we have present, and how much would it cost to do a song and so on. And then the narrative ran where we were asking the president for $9 million for us personally, where my question was just to be able to subsidize the cost for studios that they would qualify, have a song that is good enough so when a young person goes there, the quality that they come up with is decent, or at least industry standard.
Yeah.
But even with that, the government has still been doing grants where I actually got a grant as well, where I bought some camera gear. But they've been giving grants out to creatives. Some of my friends, I told them to apply. My buddy Erwin, big up yourself, and he was able to get as well, and he was able to buy new equipment to start his production. He does like video graphics and editing and stuff like that. So, they're helping, but again, they can't do everything.
We can really, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I heard Minister Walron the other day at an event I was at, and she made a very good point. She's like, same thing. It's like, look, the government is going to do what they can, but at some point as well, the private sector has to understand the value of culture and art.
Right.
And they need to pump some money behind these people because, it's their brands it's what's going to build the industry.
And that's a perfect point because, so I don't know if you know, so Calvin Burnett is a brand ambassador for Digicel now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that came from, again, his, body of work and them seeing him, putting out stuff out there. And they, and I must give them kudos for that. They saw it fit to associate their brand with him because, they see the mileage that they could get from it. And if that is done more, it could actually help youngsters who are talented to live off music.
Yeah.
To be able to have a career you can focus on being the best version of yourself musically or arts-wise, as opposed to having to go 9 to 5 and then after work you kind of just put in whatever you could. Because greatness isn't stumbled upon; it's cultivated. You have to work towards greatness.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know anybody who became great by accident. When I look, even Dexter Laps, I was talking about this when I was on tour with him in Suriname. We listened to one track for like 6 hours, 6 hours straight. He's like being in a lounge chair and like in the resort, and he's listening to one track, and he's he recorded it on his other phone, 6 hours straight. And then even when we came to work in Guyana, I remember we didn't sleep for like 2 days. And on the third day, I was tired. So I went to bed like 4 and I got up like 5:30 because I'm excited still, right? I want to get this project done because he's in Guyana. I want to make sure I do my best to represent, the best of my ability. So I wake up at 5:30 and I look through the window and he's out there already. I was like, this man didn't sleep or he just went and took a nap and came back. That's how demonic his work ethic is. It's crazy. It's like, yo, this guy. So I realize that sometimes even as creatives in our space, we don't always have that same drive.
What could artists do? Because the fact that the production costs, I totally understand.
Yeah, bro.
Right? It makes sense. But there must be a way they could hone in on their skills to be cataloging some sort of material where whether it's a producer like you or a producer in Jamaica or in the US or whatever, a label, where they have something to show without having to, totally,
Spending a bunch of money.
have a big production on a catalog.
Right. So one of the things they could do is they could actually, so computers are a bit cheaper now. So I advise some of my artists, like what you can do is you can buy like a very decent computer with not many fancy specs and buy like a little audio interface and a mic. You can get like a what's this brand called again? Oh boy, it's like a little red box. I forgot the name. Focusrite. Focusrite has like some small interfaces that allow you to they give you a mic, headphones, and a little bundle for like maybe $200 US.
Yeah.
250 is like what, 60 grand. And that allows you to record yourself. So I advise some of them to like just start recording yourself. And any producer that's worth his salt could hear talent even if it's not recorded to the best.
Sure,
Yeah. So like I could hear somebody singing on a phone and be like, yo, wait, hold on, what?
So the melodies they come in with, the lines, whatever.
Just the maturity, the tone, and these things. So you could there's ways you can get around. Even your phones, like these iPhones now are so advanced that you could actually record, like people recording from prison now, bro.
Yeah.
So like you could record yourself onto music and actually have good productions that that are not too bad as well. So don't limit yourself to thinking that you need a bunch of gear, because I had to learn that as well.
But that's kind of my philosophy in production. I mean, we do have some expensive equipment, but really and truly less is more, because when you have less, you're forced to figure out a way and get more creative to get what you see. And I find having more equipment or these big, fancy, expensive things limit your creativity.
Yeah, because you're steady stuck on trying to figure that out.
Yeah, you're like,
That
what should I use?
distracted
What should
from-
I use?
Yeah, you're distracted from being creative because you're focused on, how do I work this podcast board, or how do I?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's true, because even with me, like when I started, I was stuck on playing, like probably some of the worst gear, because of the fact that it was so expensive to get good gear in Guyana, like in terms of like mixing and production stuff. Not even mixing, but just like a keyboard, and so I had to learn how to make my keyboard do everything. So like when I started making beats, like I had a keyboard that had like 4 tracks. I don't know if you know what tracks are. So every instrument goes on a separate track.
Yeah.
When
You
it's
have
the
that in video as well.
Yeah. So exactly. Like so imagine trying to make a song that has like 25 instruments playing with only 4 tracks.
Yeah.
So you had to learn how to like chop up this piece and like stitch it in there, and like how play or split the board and play 2 things at the same time on one track.
Yeah.
And then like.
Oh, that's
so
a killer, man.
Yeah,
like,
bro.
that's giving me like a headache thinking about that.
So I learned to do that, and then I got a bigger board that had like 16 tracks, and that was like heaven. Going from 4 to 16, I was like, oh my god. So now people got like 100 tracks, 96, 32, all kind of thing. So, but I learned to master those cheesy songs, those crappy stuff, and try to make them good. So when I got stuff that was better, it just automatically was like people, like there was a jump when I changed equipment, because I was already making this song decent. When I got stuff that was better, it was like it almost seemed to people that I just had a big jump in terms of like my creativity. But I just had new equipment now because I had mastered this junk for so long.
Yeah, you've dominated this
Yeah, so
limited,
like I know it
this
inside
limited
out.
thing. Yeah,
And it's true. Like you can be
that's the best way, by the way.
Yeah, you can be a fan of equipment and get caught in the equipment and not be able to produce or be able to create. Because even for me, like now that you have access to more finance and more avenues of being able to be inspired, I find myself sometimes spending money on buying stuff because I see it and it looks good, but I don't even get a chance to delve into like how to master it.
Yeah,
so sometimes
yeah.
you become a creature of consumption and just having access to things and not even being a master at it. So I had to
I'm sure you know this, but also the manufacturers they have such a handle on you because they'll give you this great product and then they'll launch the Road 3.
Yeah,
but it has this much more. And then a year from now, the Road 4 and then this much more. You know?
And I found that too, like when you start like going up in terms of like, even if your own production stuff, like you'll find like you'll pay $10,000 more for like 2% more improvement.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when I was buying my A7S3, like I was looking at the different cameras that they had, and I saw like between this one and I think it was the A7, the 6400, something else. Like I saw videos shot on that, and then when I look at like to me initially, like I didn't see that great of a difference. I mean, of course, the person who's doing like the post production can do their color grading and stuff, but I realized that sometimes you pay a lot more as you go up in terms of price for just a little bit more improvement. So, sometimes if you perfect what you have, I've seen people do great work on lower budget stuff because they perfected it. Yeah.
Why don't we focus a lot on, because you go to places like Trinidad and Jamaica and you look at their industry locally and you could go sit down at a restaurant, at a bar, and you see like live performance. And it's such a vibe. It's such an ambiance. And, why don't we embrace that more? Because I feel like you don't even, this is something artists can do after work or on the weekends. And they just pick up some pocket change,
Right.
Not that they should be paying pocket change, but
I mean,
initially,
like,
initially it's a good way to just start a site.
And get yourself out there,
Yeah,
and
get yourself out there.
There's a couple of places where local bands play, but like you said, it could be done more.
Yeah.
Because it allows people who gig to get an opportunity to play original music, and it also creates a nice environment where people can see your talent, right? And I definitely think it could be done more. And that you asked that you mentioned that, I think the fact that we have more like a population boom, not in terms of our own people, but people visiting, I think there's a need more for entertainment like that. So I think structures can be put in place for that to take place,
Especially in public spaces.
Yeah, man, definitely. Like, and I see some people do it sometimes during like certain, like seasonally, Christmas time, you could go certain places and find people doing stuff. But I think it's something that can be done more often, because I know places for sure that have events where you could go and see a live band like rocking the place, like literally it's almost like a mini concert, and stuff like that. So I think that can be done more. I don't know how, because a lot of times these public spaces might not necessarily be governmental places, but might be private sector. So it might be playing with them to see the value in having or negotiate with them to have these kind of spaces available for people to work and show their craft, and as well as they being able to benefit from having them in those spaces to provide entertainment, kind of like that.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Just in wrapping,
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple more questions.
Sure.
I was wondering
Mm-hmm.
what's the first one is what's one artist that you're dying to work with in the future?
Oh boy.
Put it out there. I want you to put it out there. On the Gyaff.
Yeah, I have. Excuse me. So I love to work with like Drake. I love to work with like TJ. I don't know if you know TJ. TJ. But like TJ is like in my mind, and this I don't want to sound bougie, but those seem a little bit more attainable now in the space that I'm in. So as soon as I like kind of achieve something, I try to dream bigger.
Yeah.
So like TJ's, your massacres and so on, but which I was fortunate enough to help work on a track with him. But I like your Drakes, your Beyonce's. Like I'd love to have Beyonce in the studio just to pick her brain and just to do something with her in terms of like create a masterpiece. Rihanna as well. That would be like a big vibe, because she got like the little Guyanese heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a
Gotta
vibe
get her
as well.
back in music for us.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So, but I would love the opportunity, to work with people of her caliber as well. So yeah, man, there's a lot of other ones like Chris Browne and stuff, but like those are my people. Like I'd love to and if you notice, I pick people who are vocalists because I love singing. I love nice vocals and stuff. No, there's the people who rap. Love y'all too, but I just love melody and vocals. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's next for you? Like what's the plans for this year?
Calvin Burnett is my artist, managing and producing. So he's doing Soca Monarch. There's a song that we wrote called Handyman. So that's like on our agenda right now. We're trying to do that and the Dance Hall Monarch, those two. I also have an artist that I manage as well. Her name is Faith Corica, Little Canary, Lord Canary's granddaughter. I manage her as well. She's in the Calypso Monarch as well. So I'm managing them, and I'm also looking to do more productions. I'll be honest with you, I don't like putting stuff out there too soon though.
I hear you.
Yeah, so like sometimes I'll just be like, oh, I did the album, so they won't hear anything before then because I like to keep the energy positive. And sometimes you might have people who try to give opinions too early, and it affects your creativity. So I'll just say those for now. But the goal is to get up to export talent so people could hear more of Guyanese talent.
Yeah.
So you can see Calvin in Canada and in New York and different places singing and representing Guyana on the highest level. And Faith and so on.
Joey, there's so many. Well, first of all, I just want you to know how much admiration I have for you and
I appreciate you, man.
your sort of journey and
it's crazy.
what you've been through and what you've come to today. And this is just a testament to hard work and perseverance
man.
and just buying in.
Yeah, man, definitely have to.
This platform, and I'll just keep.
And before you guys, I must say, you guys are probably I would say pioneers in this space locally.
Thank you.
And to see, y'all can't see it behind out there, but this setting is amazing. Yeah, I can't even express. Like I feel like I got go. No, bro. I've been in spaces where people have like TV channels and it don't look like this. I'm just saying, right? So the space is amazing, and it. That's why y'all see me rock back just regular because it's a very comfortable. Big up to the camera. I don't know her name. Sorry,
Vicky.
Big up to Vicky. She's behind the scenes, rock, making sure everything is set. The camera angles are good. But this space is amazing, and I think this will afford more people who are in a creative space exposure. So you're actually in a space where you're gonna be actually creating opportunities for us as well.
That's the goal.
And I would love to plug your stuff, man. I mean, you guys are going to definitely allow us to be seen worldwide because the quality is already there.
We just need
the viewership, and as that grows, you guys, I promise you, people are going to even want to come and sponsor.
I hope so.
I'm just saying, I'm telling you, because the quality is already there. You guys are already like 10 steps ahead of people who thinking about doing it. You're already doing it, bro. So yeah, man, big up yourself.
Thank you. Well, you made my point for me, but my closing was going to be, you've gone through the journey. You've seen so much. You have so much more to go. Can you just leave something with my audience who are creatives, who are hesitant to really take that leap of faith? And even if they want to do both, like, could you just leave them with some words of advice based on your journey?
All right. So I'm not going to sound very deep. I'm just being real honest. One of the things that you have to do is you have to be strong in believing in yourself, because there are going to be times where you're going to question, why am I doing this? Why am I here? This doesn't make any sense. But if you have a strong conviction that this is what you were called to do, it usually lets you know that this is what you should stick with. And for me, music felt like something I could do for free because I loved it that much. And if I could do this for free, that means I love it enough. So I should keep pushing. And the fact that sometimes I'm paid to do music now is like, wow. So that lets me know that the passion is already there. So if you're doing something and you're just doing it because you want to make money, then you might not necessarily succeed because you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So make sure whatever you're striving to do, you do it for the right reasons. And that will actually allow you to figure out what your passion is. When you realize how much joy you get from it. If you're willing to do it for free sometimes, that might be a passion.
Joey, wishing you nothing but success, my
Hey,
bro.
thanks guys again. Big up to you guys. I love what you're doing, man. I can't wait to be back again to tell you about more big productions.
Can't
Yeah, man.
wait.
Yeah. So thanks so much, guys. And I'm just gonna run a shout to these guys. They're doing an amazing job, and I'm privileged to be here. Thank you very much.